Welcome to the Connected Spirit Podcast, a space where the mystical and the human experience merge, where we explore what it really means to walk a spirit-led path. I'm Courtney Dawson, an ethical medium and mentor, and for as long as I can remember, I have felt the presence of the spirit world. But my journey hasn't been simple. It's been one of self-discovery, healing from religious and emotional trauma, navigating fear, judgment, and the loneliness that comes with embracing something the world doesn't always understand. This podcast is here to take what was once considered woo and bring it into the real lived experience of being human. Because mediumship isn't just something we do, it's who we are. Here we dive into the conversations no one else is having, breaking down misconceptions, exploring the unseen, and normalizing the journey of deep connection. We'll talk about the beauty and the struggle of being a medium. We'll laugh, we'll reflect, we'll go deep. And most importantly, we'll remember who we are, why we're here, and how spirit moves through us all. So if you've ever felt something more, if you've ever questioned the unseen, or if you're simply ready to embrace the fullness of your spiritual path, you're in the right place. Welcome back to the Connected Spirit Podcast. Today, I am joined by Ben Eden. He is a therapist, a medium, and an ancestral healer whose work bridges emotional awareness, somatic repair, and lineage connection. Today, we're going to be exploring how the patterns we inherit shape the ways we give, love, and seek to be seen, and how returning to ourselves through ancestral healing opens the path to freedom, presence, and truth. Hello, Ben. So good to have you on the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So I've gotten to know you, I don't know, the last several months, and you really are a beautiful soul, and you have this integrity and this authenticity, and I love it. And this is why I've wanted to have you on the show, and now our calendars kind of align. So I would really love to dive into this ancestral healing today. And before we kind of get into that, I'm curious what's been landing in your field of energy lately around really returning to self, especially for those who like feel unseen. Like this is a big deal, connecting to ourselves. We hear a lot about it, but for you, who's the expert, what's that like?
Mm. Yeah, I think this year in general has been really big for a lot of people. Like we're in the year of the snake. And so a
Okay.
lot of people are shedding skins, shedding like previous versions of themselves, limitations, and lots of death and rebirth to move through, all of the changes and becoming their true authentic self. And I think for me, that's really what's been landing is the authenticity and being safe to be vulnerable, being safe to have emotions and express who you are. Because as humans, we have all of it. And I think that because of trauma, it stops us from feeling safe enough to express the messy side. And I know for me, from all the work I've been doing this year, is there's been a deepening of that, of feeling safe to be that and have all versions show up at all times and it be okay.
That's massive because you're not only teaching it, talking it, you're walking it.
Mm,
So, someone's listening. Lots of people are feeling stuck. I know someone's going to be listening to this episode and be like, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in patterns. I can't quite
yeah.
explain it. I don't know how to stop these cycles. How can ancestral healing reveal those roots that therapy or maybe other spiritual modalities work might miss?
Yeah, it's an amazing question. And for me, this is when so much started to unlock when I looked at the ancestral lineage, because ultimately the ancestral healing that I do is all about the somatics and the fact that the trauma is stored in the body. And so I know many clients have come through and also myself spend years in talk therapy. And that's okay, it gets you to a space because you can speak about what's happened, and a lot of people don't have any place to talk about it. But it's never going to get you to the point where you get to end the patterns. And I've had clients come through, especially recently, I've been in talk therapy for 30 years and not their life hasn't changed. They're still in the same kinds of relationships, same business, same career, same anxiety, same low confidence. And so ancestral healing is really understanding the system and what our family learned many, many, many years ago, often before we were born, before our parents were born, before our grandparents were born, and the traumas that existed then, if we just think about the wars that existed.
Hmm.
And so the ancestral healing element is understanding where in the body we're holding it, because science does prove now that when we take our first breath, that we have 7 generations worth of trauma in our DNA.
Wow.
I think it's more than that. Why would it stop at seven? Like, why would seven be the magic number? I think it's everything, all of it, in my personal opinion.
Absolutely. I've heard 12. So I
Yeah.
mean, if they can identify 12, I could totally see how it could be even more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's huge. And people don't know they're carrying these patterns. They don't realize that, they're having the same repeated domestic violence or abuse or avoidant partners or low confidence. It just keeps repeating. And when you go and track it ancestrally, it finds the root cause of it, which is most important because then you're actually clearing it from your body, from your system, but also somatically, you're releasing the stuck emotions that's being stored in the body. And I found only when you are able to do that emotionally does the pattern actually end.
So let's pick that apart. So some people
Yeah.
that are maybe not as familiar with ancestor healing, they're like, is this all spiritual or is there science behind it? What does that look like for somebody that's like, okay, I've got these patterns that are showing up. I'm in the same crappy relationships. I keep attracting low paying jobs when I know that I'm worth more. I have anxiety. I have a fear of being seen. I keep playing small. What does that look like when they start doing the ancestral healing? Like, where do you walk them through that process?
Yes. So it's a bit of everything actually. So it's
Okay.
technically fits under the banner of psychotherapy. So a lot of
Okay.
psychotherapists are trained in family systems, and this is what we call
Hmm.
it family systems to track it back. And on top of that, there is a whole bunch of people in industry like me who are spiritual and have sort of taken the roots of the psychotherapy and made it more spirit-led. Because traditionally in family systems work is you would sort of mostly stick within this lifetime. So say for example, you was to come to me for a session, traditionally you would look at your mum, your dad, and probably your grandparents, and then track to see what you have carried from them and what you're holding. And then in the process, like we allow the emotions to release from the body. And then some people like me have come along and have said, maybe there's more than just parents and grandparents. And why don't we let spirit take the wheel in a session instead of
Yeah.
us with our human logical brain? And I definitely did that like when I first started and I saw that gap straight away. And so then spirit takes us on this journey, and this is where it becomes a bit more spiritual, but also rooted in psychotherapy. And then spirit take us on this journey and show us the root cause of it, which is usually many, many, many years ago that you would never be able to logically pin together, which is why I love this particular modality because it allows room for that. There isn't a set way to do it. It allows you to allow spirit to show you what needs to happen in there. And so in the sessions, you revisit the original trauma and you watch it play out within in front of you, and then the emotions start to release from the body, which is why it's so powerful.
That's incredible because a lot of talk therapy, I mean, I've done therapy, I've talked about it on my show. I think therapy can be great, but you can only get so far. And this is where you feel like you keep talking about the same things over and over in therapy, and there's no progress. You're just like spinning your wheels and dumping a bunch of cash and not feeling any better and not making any kind of
Yeah.
like forward progress. So this is really, really deep here. Um, when I've gone through looking at your sacred return and stuff, you talk
Mm.
about not being ready until you already know.
Yeah.
How does that show up in like your own path? Like, was there a moment when you realized like you were ready for the depth of this work? Because this isn't surface level stuff.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. It's not. And that's why I always say it's not for everyone because it is really, really deep work.
Yeah.
You have to be ready to explore yourself and be honest with yourself in how you are repeating those patterns through your actions and behaviors and feelings and thoughts.
Yeah.
And so for me, I had explored pretty much all of the healing. I'd done it all, everything you can think of, every talk
Okay.
therapy, every modality, hypnotherapy, subconscious rewiring, root cause therapy, past life healing, you name it. And my life wasn't changing. I was still rooted in abusive relationships, not feeling good enough, not feeling confident, not putting myself out there, fear to be seen. And I reached a point where I was like, I know there's more to life than what I'm experiencing, and I need change. And that's when I fell into this work. Like I found it. It just appeared in front of me one day.
That's incredible. Now, I'm wondering if you can maybe share a pivotal moment when, discovering those generational patterns in your own life became super clear to you. Because I mean, what it sounds like, you've got more than a laundry list of therapies that are
Yeah.
supposed to help you, but didn't. So how did this actually show up and make things really clear for you?
Yeah, so ultimately, this work throws out the story that we hold in our mind because we know as therapists that most memories that we have of our childhood and the past aren't actually true memories. They are the
Okay.
perception that we have of what happened. So, you can have a perception of your childhood that you were really unsupported. This was me. I had this perception, like I had no support in my childhood and there was nothing there. And I wasn't willing to break out that story to start off with because that fed a narrative in me that I'm unsupported and it kept a part of me alive, a traumatized part alive. And then, but really, when I tracked back, it's true to say that there were some people in my childhood who were supportive because I wouldn't be able to have a secure attachment now. I wouldn't be able
Mm-hmm.
to have good relationships with people unless it was role modeled somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
this is very common with the story that we tell ourselves about childhood or whatever it might be. And we keep those memories alive, very much so. When I started tracking back and I was like, well, actually, I had an auntie that was amazing. And like I spent a lot of time and she role modeled love, unconditional love. She supported me. I had a neighbor, I had a teacher. There was also parts within my own parents who were supportive. But I was just stuck on the one story and I needed
Yeah.
to keep alive. And ancestral healing doesn't go into story. It doesn't ask you about story. It doesn't ask you to repeat stories because it understands that actually that is just a narrative that's being fed and a perception.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was that moment after I'd done all of the healing and I started to come to these realizations that if I'm going to keep repeating these relationships, something has to change within me. And it was like, after like 3 or 4 abusive relationships, and I'm still in the same place, I'm still attracting the same kinds of men
Mm-hmm.
that and come across this work that I knew I really needed to change that. Otherwise, I'm probably going to live the next 30 years attracting the same relationships or the same situations.
Wow, that is so powerful because there's something about what you're saying here, and it's like ringing true for me. And then I even think about family members right now where it's like they're stuck in moments of time that keep reliving over and over and over. And it's heartbreaking. I mean, I'm thinking of one particular person right now, and I go, shit, this is exactly what is going on. Now, you have this incredible program, the Sacred Return, where, you are looking at helping people address that so they can really step into this life of freedom and stop dragging the past around in a negative way. What does that actually look like when somebody is having an ancestral healing? Can you kind of walk us through what that would look like? Because I'm sure there's lots of people that are going to be listening, just like I am. Okay,
Yeah.
this sounds good, but what does that look like? Do we lay on a
Yeah.
couch? Are we on a Zoom call? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the biggest questions and also one of the hardest things to explain. So I'm going to do
Yeah.
my best to
Okay.
break it down in how we do it. So what happens is in an ancestral healing, it's done within a group,
Okay.
in a group setting. So if you was to come to me and we was to look at a specific pattern, there'll be a group of us. And so what we would do is outline and understand what is the pattern and where does it come from. We would track it and trace it, like really understand where has this repeated in your life, where is it repeated in your ancestral lineage as well, so that we can really understand and dial in the exact specific pattern. And that is probably the most important part of the whole process because we
Mm-hmm.
need to know where we're going. And then in a group format, what we do is we hand over to Spirit and we say to Spirit, look, this is the pattern we've got for Courtney. We want to clear it today. We want to get to the root cause of it and release it so it leaves her life.
Mm-hmm.
Then what happens is Spirit starts working through the group, right? And so people start feeling something in their body. They start like it's the field, it's just moving through them. And what the original trauma will start to play out within the group. So the client is watching and observing this whole thing unfold. And so one by one, spirit are dropping in these seeds, this information, these feelings. And so we call it a resonator, one of the person who's receiving will then go, I feel like I've been abused, or I feel like I've been left alone, or all these different things will come in through the body, and then it's being released through the group emotionally. So they're feeling the emotions. And then what I then do as a facilitator, I then am observing the whole thing, and then I start bringing in healing through the group. One of the reasons it's so powerful is because the client is looking on and observing, and she's watching her whole life play out in front of a group of people she's never met, that they would have no idea that stuff is true. And they're like, yeah, this happened to me. This has happened. It's been a repeated pattern. And it lands so deeply in the body of the client to be able to witness it and observe it, because it brings it home how much pain they've experienced. When you
Yeah.
see it, like, yeah, that's what I experienced. And so, and then all of these traumas, like are coming out, the emotions are coming out, the people are releasing it. And as they're feeling it, it's actually releasing it from the client. And this is where it can get confusing for people to understand that, but it's releasing
Yeah.
from the client's body. And they're just receiving, feeling shift after shift, like releasing, feeling this emotion leave. And then at the end of the session, the client just feels like they have released burdens they didn't even know they were carrying. So they feel really, really light. And so my job as a therapist in there is to witness and observe all of the different patterns, all the different trauma responses for every single ancestor in there, and then give them healing in one way or another. And so the consciousness of the ancestors are present in that room with us. So then I
Gotcha.
can say
Okay.
to ancestor, say there was one who was abused, I can say to her, I'm really sorry that you experienced this,
Mm-hmm.
that she never got to hear that. And so as that ancestor's healing for the first time, you just see it right in front of your eyes, all of this release happening for everyone in the room. And that's why it's so healing, because until that those traumas are acknowledged for the ancestors, the client is going to carry that trauma in her DNA and in her cells.
Wow. So this is like beyond just doing a past life regression, like noticing the stuff that you've been through and just like revisiting that moment in time. You're actually getting so immersed in the whole experience, the feelings, and all of that. And then you're guiding them to release it. Now, I got a question when you're
Yeah.
explaining how the spirit is planting those seeds of awareness, right? And then they're releasing it. Is the group releasing on behalf of like the one person?
Yes, and
Okay.
themselves. So
Okay.
one of the
Okay.
things I love about this work and why I prefer group work to one-on-one is that everything's a match. So if a client comes with a wound of not feeling good enough, I can guarantee you the group all have the same wound. So as
Yeah.
they're releasing it from their body for the client, they're releasing it for themselves. So one
Mhm.
session can release ancestral trauma for like a group of 10 people. And that's why I love it, because the impact is so much greater than a one-on-one.
That's incredible. Now, I've got another question because this is just like I'm all these thoughts are
Yeah.
coming in. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So when spirit is planting those seeds, are they planting it those seeds come from like the root cause of where the root is. So it's not just like talk therapy or, I mean, I've even done somatic healing where I actually felt like it didn't help me because it was bringing up stuff that felt like re-traumatizing, but wasn't getting to the root. So you're saying this isn't just bringing up a trauma or wound, it's getting to the root of it. So once it's witnessed and processed in that session, it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. And you're 100% correct. And that's why I love the work, because it is re-traumatizing to put someone in a room and say,
Yeah.
talk to me about what happened to you. Whereas
Yeah.
this is an echo. If you experience, let's say, domestic violence, we know it's an echo from something much further back. And so the client never needs to revisit their own trauma. And so that's why it's easier to bypass their own systems and be able to fully release it.
So when you created the Sacred Return, were you speaking to a part of your own journey, something that kind of like felt unfinished now until now?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. And many parts, especially around relationships, because that's always been the biggest thing for me in my whole life is
Hmm.
abusive relationships, difficult relationships, or just relating with people was really challenging for me. So it definitely was speaking to that.
Can you maybe share a little bit like what ancestral healing feels like in the body? So when something old is actually starting to release?
Yeah. It's like when you're the client and you're in the session and you're either observing it because it's your healing, or you are one of the people that's helping it. it's like you start to feel this relief in your body, almost like you're
Mm.
setting down burdens or rocks or heaviness in the body that you didn't know you were holding because you only know how it feels to be you. So you don't know that there's a version that exists that's lighter without the burdens. And it's
Hmm.
relief, just one after the other. And you're like, wow, I'm just feeling lighter and lighter as the session goes on. And with that comes heightened positive emotions. So you start to feel joy and happiness and gratitude. And then as it keeps continuing, you feel that deeper and deeper. So at the end of the session, you see everyone's faces. They are lit up. They are full of happiness. They are full of love. And they can see themselves from that place as well, often for the first time.
That's incredible. So you're actually making sure these people are grounded and everything is settled before they leave a session with you. They're not
Yeah,
digging up all of this stuff and then their nervous system is all out of whack afterwards.
absolutely. Yeah.
So powerful. Obviously, you can tell I've had some experiences with therapy,
Yeah.
but that's okay. Another time, another session. You're somebody that is holding space for people through your therapy, through your mediumship. You're guiding men and women alike, right? How do you
Yeah.
stay so grounded so you continue guiding them through soul level repair? Really, what you're doing is soul level repair.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah, it is soul level for sure. And this is why people get such amazing results instantly in their, in their life, like that moment. So for me, the biggest thing is rest. Like for those that are into astrology, I'm a Cancer rising. And so
Mm.
I know that I think you're also a Cancer, aren't you,
I'm
Courtney?
yeah, mine's a sun. My sun is Cancer, my moon, and my rising are Virgo.
Yes, I love that. I could definitely see the Virgo in you. And so like the Cancer element means that I need to be well rested first before I can
Yeah.
actually do my work. And because the moon moves every 2.5 days, that means my mood and energy changes every 2.5 days. And so I never used to understand this about myself. And I'm like working, trying to do all this therapy and would always be burnt out and exhausted. And so when I realized this about myself being a Cancer rising, I realized that I actually have to have most of my week to be restful. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have built my business now, luckily enough, because I've got the awareness, to be mostly about myself and rest and taking care of myself and going to the gym, going to the wellness center, doing all the things. And then the business fits in around that. And it has to be like that. Otherwise, I can't be the best version of myself in those sessions and I can't go to those depths that clients need.
And that's good to have that your own awareness of that
Yeah.
because this is big stuff people are coming to you for, right?
Yeah.
As someone who is an intuitive, a healer, and a therapist, you're totally aware of inner healing being a
Yeah.
journey. Things are always coming out. Where do you still feel like you're being stretched on your own edges? Even as the guide, the mentor, what's being
Yeah.
asked of you now?
Yeah, the next phase really is relationships. This whole year has been a theme around
Hmm.
relationships for me and deepening them and understand in my part and all of course everything is a reflection. This is what I believe. Like the
Yeah.
whole world is a reflection. Every person that you come into contact with, you're not really getting them. You're getting the version that they are reflecting to you.
Mm.
And like I really do believe in this unlimited versions that we all have. And
Yeah.
so this year for me, the edges that I've really been stretching are around what are people reflecting back to me? Because it has been a lifelong journey to this point around relationships, like my original caregivers, domestic violence, abusive relationships.
Hmm.
Then that stemmed into clients. Like I then had narcissistic clients, and it was a really big journey because they were all reflecting these inner wounds of narcissism that lived in my system. And you can see it in my family system, like pretty much everyone has had abusive or violent relationships. And so that has been a really, really, really big and exhausting journey to get to the point now. Luckily, I don't attract those versions of people because I've done so much
Hmm.
work, which is good. And there's still another piece to go here around having a look to see the expectations of me that people have and how that shows up in my relationships and what that's reflecting to me. And I think that's
Hmm.
going to continue for me. And I've explored this also in my astrology chart, and it shows as part of my soul purpose was to learn and grow and evolve the most through relationships.
Oof, that's a tough one, right?
It is, yeah, it is.
Life is
Yeah.
all about relationships. And I mean,
Yeah.
outside of mediumship, my background, I've worked corporate. And I remember one of my mentors saying to me, business is all about relationships. And I thought,
Yeah.
not just business, life. Life is
Yeah.
all about relationships. And we think about our family unit. Now, there's a lot of people that might have these loving families, but there's a lot of people that come from some backgrounds that are toxic in many different levels, whether that be through abuse, whether that be through addiction, abandonment. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and it's not easy. And you think, well, why would a soul decide to incarnate and have these soul lessons?
Yeah.
But we can't do it without the relationships, right? And I think
Yeah.
it's some of those harder lessons. It really shows the strength of the individual because that's not for the faint of heart, like at all. So you've got
Yeah.
some strength. Got some strength,
Yeah.
honey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For people who spent their lives giving, pleasing, or fixing themselves just to be seen. I mean, a lot of people
Mm.
done it. I've been guilty of it. What
Yeah.
unspoken stories or feelings do you sense are running beneath that?
Yeah, what a powerful question. I love that. And so there's a lot, and people start to track their own childhood with this, and it's not where it started. This is the biggest thing that anybody could really understand. Like you could spend your life talking, even feeling, even doing somatic inquiry and releasing emotions from your
Mm-hmm.
childhood it's never the root cause story behind it. So just to give you an example. I had this myself and the overgiving, like trying to fix myself constantly, trying to fix other people. That was why I ended up in the realm because fixing other people gave me some sort of relief, which is often for a lot of healers and therapists when you look at it. And when I really tracked back under the surface, I found a massive story secret in my family. And it was that my great grandmother died giving birth to my grandmother.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody knew this because what happened was my the family asked would have been my great auntie to step in and pretend to be the child's mother. So my grandma grew up thinking that her auntie was her mum when she wasn't, but always felt something off. Like she always felt like she was the odd one out, like she didn't fit in
Mm-hmm.
this family because she was picking up this energetic. But what's more is they then pretended like my great grandmother never existed. So they got rid of all photos of her. Her
Mm.
gravestone didn't have a name on it. It was hidden away in the corner of the graveyard under a tree. No one knew she ever existed. She was erased. So that wreaks havoc on a family system. Every single ancestor after that will be playing a role because the ancestor and the energy will constantly seek resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody has something like this in their family because then it was the norm to brush things under the carpet, to pretend things that didn't happen, just get on with it. Look at the generation of baby boomers, Generation X. That is what they were taught. Just
Yeah.
get on with it because of the war and things. And so when I think of all my clients and they come to me and they go, like I've got this wound of not feeling good enough, and they talk about their childhood, I know categorically it didn't start there. And there is a deeper story somewhere in their family system, usually of huge, that needs to be acknowledged and needs to be looked at. And for me, because my grandmother died giving birth, what happened was every time I tried to give birth to something, a relationship, a career, a business, an offer, it died before it could actually see come to completion. And
Wow.
only after clearing that did things actually move forward. And I see this with all clients. Like in my mind, as soon as someone tells me, I'm like, let's find the secret. Let's find the story that's been unspoken and that's been silenced.
Wow. That is incredible. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Like I'm even thinking about my own stories, like about family members being erased. I'm thinking about this right now, and now I can
yeah,
see why that affected me so deeply.
yeah,
This
yeah.
incredible. So how can someone honor their ancestors without having to carry their pain?
Yeah, and this is one of the biggest parts of the work that we do within the session after we've cleared the emotion, is we do a massive honoring for the ancestor to, let them know, look, you belong here. Because this is how the ancestor does feel energetically when they've been erased, when they've been silenced, like they don't belong. And as humans as consciousness, we have an inherent desire to belong. So we do an honoring and a ritual in the session to let the ancestor know you belong here, you know that we love you and that we want to connect with you and that you're not going to be forgotten. And then after that, I always say to the clients to do their own honoring as well after this session for that ancestor. That might look like, you know, getting a plant and putting it in the garden for the ancestor, or spending time in their day to acknowledge them for 10 minutes in their meditation to say, I see you. I see you. I know that you're there and your pain did not go down in vain. And I'm going to use your pain as wisdom for myself. This is what the ancestors want. You know, you hear that in mediumship readings, don't you? You hear them say it like a lot. You know, this is what the pain I experienced. Don't repeat it. And so that's often when that honoring's done, even outside of the healing, there's a massive wave that happens in the system, and also for all of the people in the system. So the siblings who have never even done any healing, the parents, you start to see shifts and changes in their mentality as well.
That's so powerful because, I mean, as someone who's done therapy, I have friends that are therapists, and they talk about when you heal yourself, you heal the generations that have gone before you and those that are coming after you. So this
Yeah,
isn't just about you. There's a
yeah,
bigger picture here.
yeah,
This is so powerful. If Spirit
yeah.
had one message for somebody listening today who feels like they're stuck in patterns, they're repeating old cycles, and they're just like, God, I need to break free, what do you think that would be?
And the message that always comes through in these healings is that it isn't a life sentence and you don't have to hold it. You can end it. Like you can
Mm,
end it instantly. And we think that it is lifelong, you know, and it's not. You know, for example, I did a healing a couple of weeks ago and the client really struggled to receive. It's very, very ingrained in women, you know, to give and not receive. Like so
yeah.
many women don't receive in relationships. They're the masculine and the feminine, and they're doing everything. And just in general, it's ingrained in the DNA of women. She couldn't receive, and she couldn't even receive compliments from me. Like when I would compliment her, she would say, "Can you not? Because I can't hold your compliment." So I was like, "Yeah, it was really, really deep." Did this one healing on her because she couldn't receive. She had money issues her whole life. 24 hours later, she won 100 grand.
Stop it.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
yeah. And it continued for about 3 weeks. She was messaging me every day, another 10 grand, another 20 grand, another 50 grand. I was like, what the hell? And this is what Spirit always say. You do this instant. So you don't, if you've got a pattern, you don't need to hold it. And that's why I do so much of the work myself. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is showing up for me. I'm just gonna go do the healing because I know instant change. Another person who we did a healing for around love, 24 hours later, after being with avoidance her whole life, met the love of her life.
Mm.
So Spirit is always trying to bring that forward in the sessions to say, like, it's your sole purpose to experience it. Like you chose to experience it for whatever reason. And also you can clear it. That's part of your soul growth too.
I'm just like dumbfounded. That's so wild. That's
Yeah.
incredible. And that really is some deep soul level healing. And it's worth it, right? It's not easy. Obviously, you have to have strength and conviction about doing it, but you
Yeah.
are in the right support space to have that facilitated. And I mean, those are some quick results. This has been such
Yeah.
an awesome conversation, Ben. Thank
Yes.
you so much for being on the show. For those of you that are listening, if something stirred in you today, trust that it's part of your own sacred return, a remembering of who you are beneath what's been inherited. Because Spirit never asks us to just fix the past, only to feel what's ready to come home through us. You're not behind, you're becoming.
The Connected Spirit isn't just a podcast, it's a remembering of who we are, a remembering of our connection to spirit, and a remembering that we are never walking this path alone. Mediumship isn't just about speaking with spirits, it's about deepening the connection to our own spirit, to one another, and to the energy that moves through everything. So as you leave this space, ask yourself, what part of this conversation stirred something within you? What connection is spirit inviting you to strengthen? If this episode spoke to you, please share it, leave a review, and connect with me on Instagram at Medium Courtney Dawson or visit my website at mediumcourtneydawson.com. Your presence in this community matters because connection isn't just about what we seek, it's what we are. Until next time, Trust your spirit, trust the unseen world, and trust that you are always, always connected.